testing the microphone.
You're not supposed to snap up the computers. I mean, they're listening, but they're not actually listening.
All righty. So, good morning. Today, we are going to finally get into code. Come on. Be excited, right? That is not exciting with your face. That is a look that says, stop talking to me. That's what that look says right now. Move on, talk to somebody else. So, today is the 24th. At the end of the week, what is due is create your content and menu system. Okay, so again, let's just go through that assignment real quick. Again, you need to set or create a list of pages for your site. I have chosen to go with about, blog, contact, portfolio, and then I have subpages for portfolio. So down here in the requirements, create a set of main level pages that include an about page, a blog page, and a contact page. Again, those pages we will be working on in terms of what you're doing in this class, so make sure you have those pages. And then at least one other main category page, like a services or a portfolio or any other page that if you're working on a real project or a project that you did in Web 200 or whatever, and it has, I don't know, what, like Kristen, what did you, that Alexander Technique website, what other page did it have? Services? Yeah, okay. So do a services page and then do sub pages that are those services, just so I can see pages and sub pages, because you are going to be doing sub navigation in this class. Make sure that all of your pages have text that represents, you know, level 1 or 2 headings, so on and so forth. Go ahead and just use the, I know I bust you on copying and pasting all the time, but I'm pretty sure that all of you know how to write H1 P tags and that kind of stuff, right? So go ahead and just use the kitchen sink here, HTML Ipsum. This is a little place that I go to when I need to grab, you know, list items, short ones, long ones, etc., to use as items, dummy items in sites that I'm building. So, make sense? Okay. And then make sure that you create that main menu system that is representative of those pages, and create them with, so currently you should be using a pre-existing WordPress theme, right? That has the capabilities of doing the menu system. So, like I said, if I were you, to just do the assignments for the last couple of weeks up until creating your own theme, using just one of the out-of-the-box WordPress themes for now, the 2016, 2017, 15, 14, whatever, the ones that come pre-packaged with WordPress are good enough. Then today we will start creating your own theme. So if we go back to then the schedule, the 2 lectures that we're going to be talking about today, anatomy of a WordPress theme and creating a WordPress theme from a template. So let's talk the anatomy of a WordPress theme really quickly. So if I go to my demo repository here, you will see that in my repository now, we started off with our template system, right? Main, home, and then all of a sudden, look at all these other files that are in there, okay? Index.php, page.php, sidebar, single, style, footer, front page, functions, header, so on and so forth. Those are then the quote template files that WordPress uses when building a theme, okay? So if we then take a look at, well, what is a theme? What I've tried to do in my lectures is I've tried to link to, so for instance, what's in a theme? A WordPress theme is a collection of files that work together, et cetera, et cetera. These files are called template files. So what I've tried to do is I've tried to then link to the codex to the appropriate place of what we're talking about. So right, all the template tags and CSS and tools, etc. What is it? Okay, so basically then as well, using themes here, see also using themes, let's open that. What is a theme? So on and so forth, right? So those are just resource things that you can go ahead and read. But basically, a theme then is the part of the website, or is basically your website that then hooks into the WordPress application to then go and dig into the WordPress box and present information how you want it stylized, how you want it presented in your website. So again, for instance, if we go to the, I already have it open, don't I? Let's log in. Appearance. So under the appearance menu, there is the submenu for themes. And in here, remember I installed a theme called Jelly. I installed a theme called OnePress. Here are then the default themes 2014, 2015, 2016. I don't have 2017 in this one. And then down here, broken themes, right? So basically what I did then, or what we did, if you did it with me, is if I am looking then at my local files and my remote server, then in the WordPress folder here, so again, WordPress Spring 17.01, I open that up, you see then the whole WordPress enchilada in, sometimes it's a burrito, sometimes it's an enchilada, sometimes it's a taco. In the WordPress folder, inside then the WP content folder, right? Remember that's where then we have plugins and we have themes. If we go over to the remote server and we open up the WP content, right? This is also where there are a couple other folders. Because I didn't upload any content locally through here, let's just go and now look at the remote server. In the remote server, in the WP content folder, remember when we uploaded a photo last week? Well, it then created an uploads folder inside the WP content folder. As well, there is an upgrade folder that I'm not exactly sure what that may or may not be relating to, but because WordPress probably made it, and WordPress every now and again is like, hey, I'm doing something new that you don't know about, right? I just look at that. In other words, as they update WordPress, keeping up with all the updates, all the new features and functions in WordPress, I should read those things about what the new features and functions in WordPress are, but I like to be surprised, Janine. So a lot of times I don't read those. Okay, never do I read those, and I just see what is new by discovery, right? I'm like a WordPress archaeologist. So in then the themes folder, we have the Jelly theme, we have the OnePress theme, we have the Students Premium Design Works master. I am actually going to go ahead and just delete those out of there because, yes, I don't really need those in there. An FTP error card, can't remove server fonts, folder fonts, network, okay. Okay. FTP, what is going on? Cannot remove, upgrade. Interesting. Well, we'll just leave that in there for now. But here is where you should have then placed your template folder inside of your themes folder. Has everybody done that yet? Has everybody done that yet?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
I can make the cricket sound.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as an instructor, just when an instructor asks a question and then the students are like,
It's also that they have to
true, it is. Hey man, I feel the same way, right? So I'm barely here. I've got my coffee. So anyway, you should be putting your templates folder inside your themes folder because that then is how we are going to make a theme out of it. So again, if we go back here and then we see themes, right? I'm going to see if I can delete it this way. Yes. Great. So right now, my WEB170 SP17.01 says style sheet is missing, okay? So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But inside, again, the themes folder, once we get to making all of our theme files, etc., you will notice that we have a whole bunch of other files, right? So basically how a WordPress theme is put together is very similar to, all of you have used PHP includes, true? Great. So if we look at just this old screenshot right here of my school theme from way back, it's part of the files that we are going to be using are very similar to the PHP include structure. In other words, we have header.php. Well, that basically is, if we look in my demo theme, so if I go and look at my demo from, whoops, wrong folder, from when I first started this, themes, demo, right? And we look at header.php, wait for it, there we go. Is this big enough on the screen for you guys, the code?
Perhaps a little bigger.
A little bigger? It's a little bigger, 16 to 18.
I'm also very close. We might want to ask someone back.
Dwayne. Thank you, Dwayne.
Are you sure?
So in the header.php file, just like in what you did in Web120 and Web200 when you did include files, we have everything from the doc type all the way down through a place in the file that you chose to be your header file. How do I say that more elegantly, Michael? And your header file. That was way more elegant. As well, we have our footer include, right? Where we chose to end the page specific content and then go all the way through the HTML and body tag, okay? So then we have files like page.php and sidebar.php. These are files that WordPress expects. So the naming convention has to match up. You have to have, well, you don't have to have page.php or sidebar. You could just do a whole website using index.php, right? But not, once you start getting into making bigger themes, that would take a whole lot of conditional structures, and it's better just to start making it into different files. So page.php then, if we look at my old demo proto site, you can see here that down at the bottom, I have tagged, although I don't want to use the term tag because tag is a different meaning. I have identified which template file is being used where. So when we're on the home page, when we've told the home page to be a static page, not the blog feed page in our settings, remember how we did that?
Yes.
Thank you. Just lie to me, Anthony. So if we go to a regular page, then this is where the file page.php is used, okay? So page.php can be much like the page-specific file, right? So if I open up page.php, you can see then that in here, it calls get header, get footer, get sidebar, okay? So remember how we used to, or how you've done includes in the past, where you use the include function, right? And you call a string in the include function. Yeah? Okay. Just everybody get used to doing this. Yeah. Okay. And same thing, get footer. So instead, we are going to call those files using a WordPress written function instead to do the same thing for header, for footer, and for sidebar. So here is page.php, the page specific content, where we have div ID content. Here is where I have then given it a label, end div. This right here is called the WordPress loop. We'll talk about that in a little while, right? But this is what basically pulls out content from the database, okay? So page.php is the file then for pages. Remember how WordPress is broken into pages and postings, right? Sidebar. Sidebar is that file where you can put dynamic widgets and you can put your own code to call things like sub-navigation, etc. We'll get to that down the road. But if I open up sidebar, and we take a look at it, this is where I have put my sub-navigation. So remember how I said we're going to use the WP list pages function? There it is, okay? As well, we can use a function called dynamic sidebar to call our dynamic widgets. Don't worry about that right now. We'll get to it. Here is also where the comments include. Again, we're not going to be using comments, the comments file in this class, but if you wanted to put comments into your website, you use a file called comments.php. I typically always get a pre-written comments.php file and just include that into my site, hook it up like normal, and run with it. Okay, close that. So we do have other files like single.php. Single is the file that looks much like page. Get header, get footer, get sidebar. Hey, look, there's that loop thing again, right? But single.php then is the file that if we go to our blog, right? So if we go to our blog feed and we've set it up correctly, the blog feed uses index.php. A single posting uses then single.php. It's all coming together, isn't it? Like, oh, logic. Right? So in what we are going to build out of home.html is we're going to start with index.php. We are eventually going to chop it up and do header and footer.php. We're eventually going to make page and single and front page as well, and sidebar. So that leaves one file left. Oh, and we might do a 404. Functions. The functions file then is where we store, guess what we store in functions.php? Why did the melon couple, why was the melon couple very, very sad? Because they cantaloupe. You started it. You deserved that. You deserved that. You deserved that. What type of dog eats cantaloupe? A melon collie. He started it. Remember, he started it. So, Michael, let's give you one more guess at this. What do you think we store in functions.php? Functions, right. So functions.php is the place where you store all of the functions that relate to your theme, right? So for instance, if you want to make a function called getMyTitleTag and write some conditional structures in there to get your title tag in a specific way, and then in header.php, call the getMyTitleTag function, right? When header.php loads, it'll look for getMyTitleTag function, and it'll go to the functions file, see there it is, and load the function of how it's written, right? So WordPress to me is very, very logical and simple in terms of, oh, wow, we've built stuff like this before, haven't we? Right? In other words, the way you've been taught to build stuff in Web 120 and Web 200, right, fits with the way that you build things in WordPress versus the way you build things in Drupal, let's say. I'm not going to go into how you build stuff in Drupal, but it's a lot different. Let's close these up. Going back here. So again, in my lecture here, I've basically attempted to say, you're going to use page.php, which is for pages. And if you hit this, right, it's going to then take you to theme development. What is a page? Single post, again, single.php. Index, when the blog feed loads, or the home page in some cases. Header.php, footer.php, widgets, or sidebar.php. Your styles.css, okay? So when we get into then style, right, we have to actually name it style.css, and we also have to have this comment in here, right? So right now, when we go back to manage themes and it says style sheet is missing, style sheet is not actually missing, right? Style sheet is named incorrectly and doesn't have this comment in there, okay? Again, functions. A theme can optionally use functions, which reside in the functions file, so on and so forth. Great. Let's start creating your theme from your template. So step one, install your template as a new theme. Well, if you have already put your template into your themes folder, in your WP content folder, in your WordPress folder, you have installed your theme, sort of. At least you've put it in the right place. Now we need to actually hook it up and make sure it works, okay? What we need to do to start out with then is we need to make index.php, okay? Because index.php is, well, let's say it like this. You can create a theme that has only two files in it, index.php and style.css, right? A theme can work off of just those two files. But right now, in our themes folder, right, if we have main.html, let's open that up. Save as. Make sure I'm in the right folder. Save it as index.php, right? So in then our folder here, that's right, I'm in my local themes. Delete jelly locally, in there, delete, yes. So over here, I now have index.php in my folder there. I am also going to make sure that your site, manage sites, WEB170 servers, open that up under advanced. I want to, when I'm using FTP in Dreamweaver, I hit the automatically upload files to server on save, so I don't always have to push all the time. Every time I save a file, it just automatically pushes it up to the server. Okay, but let's make sure. Come on, Blue Donut. Push that to the remote server. Back to remote server. And now I should see index and styles. So as well, I want to then open up styles.css and ooh, look at that. I already have, let's see. Should delete that out of there right now. I probably put that in my template when I didn't need to. So I am then going to make sure that this file right here then is renamed style.css. Okay, so I'm going to close some of these right now just to make sure that I have style.css, index.php, right? And when you guys, so you guys are going to have to create from your main, save as index, and whatever your style sheet is named, right, you are going to need to rename it style, S-T-Y-L-E .css. So here in my index.php, although what I did right there is absolutely pointless, and I'll tell you why. So now if I go back to my admin, and I refresh, yay! It has now got a hold of style.css. However, if we look at the theme details, it has no theme details to it. That's where then in style.css, we need to put a few things into our style sheet. Let's see, where is the files, custom CSS, WordPress generated classes. We need to, well, let's just put it this way. We need to say theme, author URI, description, version, okay? So, theme. Again, we need to put this inside of these comment tags. Theme, author URI. I think the other one is description. Description, version. Okay, so those are the things right there then. That WordPress wants to then hook into here. So now if I refresh this and I go to theme details, it still doesn't have anything because I have not filled anything out yet. So theme, this one is called, let's just say it like this, WordPress Spring 2017, Section 1, Demo, Author, me, Author, URI, and notice I keep on saying URI instead of URL. It wants an I there. Why does JavaScript want to do things the way it does it? Yes, Dwayne? Theme name? Let's see. It is theme name. Good job, Dwayne. This is just whoever, this is ego right here. You know what I mean? Description. This is the demo theme for the WordPress WEB170 class for the spring 2017 quarter. The demo theme for the spring 17 WEB170 section 01 class. Version 42. I guess I'm supposed to have author name here too, right? Let's see, let's go back to this one. Oh, theme URI, author URI. Okay. What? Yeah. All right. So if we save this now, there it is. WordPress Spring 2017 Section 1 demo by Mike Sinkula. This is the demo, etc. Look at that. I don't have a screenshot. Oh. Let's make one. Or let's steal one. You can make one for yourself. I am going to go to my old demo, say copy. Paste that screenshot there. So to create a theme, right, you need index.php. We've got index.php. You need style.css. Style.css then needs to have this. Let's search for that real quick. WordPress style sheet comment. Theme development. Theme style sheet. There it is. Thought I had that link on my lecture page. Let's make sure I do it. Hey, look, this is how you insert a link. Hey, look, this is how you make bullets. Okay, so under style.css, if you go to this theme development one, theme style sheet, that then has that comment that you need to put in there. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to go, right? Let's now, theme details. Let's refresh this. Hopefully it caught my screenshot. Yay! So basically you need a screenshot for your theme. Just take a whatever picture of your, screen capture of your theme, or your face, whatever. Right? And now if I activate that, this theme is now activated. So let's visit site and see what it looks like. Oh. Oh. Well, I guess class is over. It's broken. No, class is not over. This is where now Daddy needs to grab his notes because he's going to start typing some stuff. And I don't think we have the WordPress code hints put into our, I looked for it earlier today, the extensions manager is missing. So just go with me on it. Oh, look, there's a couple of blank pages. These are for you. Oh, I know where I put that. Look at that. If we go back down here, oh no, that was the functions. Let's also create functions file so we have that when we need that. So if I say new, PHP, create, get rid of all that. And I'm just going to put in a temporary PHP script tag. And what I typically do is, you don't need to do this, but if you, how many of you have ever had files open for several different projects and you didn't know which file, which project went to? Who's with me? So what I have a tendency to do is, on my functions file, always put in the same comment for my style sheet so I know which functions file I'm actually working on. Does that make sense? You don't have to have this in here, but it's a good idea. So I am going to save this as functions, right? Functions.php, PHP files, save. Make sure that's saved and put to my remote. Okay, so going back to this is broken. Well, what's actually happening is the theme is working, but it's not pulling our style sheet just yet. Okay, and this is where then to pull the style sheet, this is where we need to see, I had a screenshot of that in there. We need to start adding the WordPress functions to our theme. The first one we're going to use is blog info. Okay, so remember blog info, you may have remember it from past conversations, but basically blog info then will take different values like name, description, WP URL, URL. So for the one for our style sheet, we are going to be using style sheet URL. Go back to index.php. And remember then where I said, well, that was pointless, me doing that. Here's our first WordPress function that we were writing into then our theme. So blog info, right, is a basic function that will allow us to do things like get the URL for our main style sheet. So if we are linking to a style sheet and want to call that, if we do that, hit save, Now it's calling our style sheet correctly, okay? Correct. So we're going to start with index.php because I could make a whole website off of just those 3 files: index, style, and functions. I'd have a whole lot of conditional structures, like if we're a page, do this; if we're a single, do this; if we're on the front page, do that, right? But that's essentially, I've got a working WordPress theme now, sort of, right? Nothing's being pulled dynamically at this point in time. So what we need to do then is slowly but surely add in the dynamic parts. Like right now, where we have navigation, right? That's not being pulled dynamically because I haven't written the function here to then go and pull the menu system that we set up, okay? So week by week now, we're just going to start to, great, we've got our theme started. Here's what my theme looks like because I'm using that, the template system that I created based from my UW proto-site that I built for one class. Yours is going to be how yours looks, right? So let's now go and start adding in some of the other functionality, okay? So blog info, again, the blog info function does all sorts of things, right? It also is the function that we're going to use to call our style sheet, okay? So if again, what I've tried to do is, as we're going through these lectures, I've tried to link to the appropriate function or whatever we're talking about. So again, what I just did is I used the blog info function, right, that I can pass a string argument. And the one I just used was style sheet URL, which displays the primary style sheet, usually style.css. Okay. Now, this then also pulls from, remember when I said that I usually leave the style sheet at the same root as all these other files? This function goes and looks in the theme folder for that file at the root. So if you have it put into its own CSS folder, I don't know if it's going to work or not, right? But it's going to look for style.css at the root of the folder. What if we have another style sheet like this, though? FlexSlider.css. So what I have in my theme is, well, I've used FlexSlider. So I then had to hook up the FlexSlider.css file, right? And that FlexSlider.css file lives at the same root level as my other style sheet, okay? So instead of using blog info style sheet URL, I want to look into the themes folder for FlexSlider.css. So instead of style sheet, I am going to use blog info. Template directory. Template URL or template directory will go look into the themes folder and return the theme directory. Okay, so if I then have this flexslider.css right here, I need to go and look into the template directory. I also then need to put a slash here, right? So that it then has, in other words, if we look at the source code now for this, the style sheet URL argument goes and writes that whole pathway out, right? The template directory goes and writes everything, WordPress, WP content, themes, whatever the theme is, and then you have to write the slash to put that in there. So if I, for instance, if I just did this, and refreshed, see how there's no slash in there? So it's going to give you an error, right? You always want slash to be there, right? He's pretty fun at parties and he plays some mean solos. Always got to get a Guns N' Roses joke in. No, I'm a dad. I can do these kinds of things. So now if I go back and refresh this, right, that slash is in there. So now the URL for both style sheets is hooked up and ready to go, okay? But notice that then I have other things like image, toggle, href to home.html. Those types of things aren't working that we will have to fix here in a little bit. Or this featured image, right? That isn't working. So that temporary featured image, again, I am going to be replacing everything in this content section here and the sidebar, all of that HTML. Navigation, content and stuff in here with WordPress functionality. So I'm not going to worry about fixing those pathways right now. But we go back to here. So that's using our blog info style sheet URL. Once we place that in our file, our style sheet should load. And as well, if you have another style sheet file, right, you are going to want to use the WordPress functionality. As well, same thing here for any JavaScript that you are calling as an external file, right? So this one, because it's a file that lives on Google APIs, I don't need to do that. But here for this flexslider.js, again, same thing. We get that slash. Blog, info. Templates, directory. So if I go then and view source again, right? Now it has the long absolute URL to where that lives, okay? Why does it call absolute URLs like this? Good answer. My guess is because you can install themes wherever, instead of using relative URLs, it wants to go and find the absolute URL for consistency's sake, right? And to make sure that it works all the way around the boards, right? So if you've been used to calling relative URLs, you guys even know what I mean by relative versus absolute URLs? Yeah? I trust you on that. So, I'm not going to quiz you today. What I should do is just all of these questions that I ask you, I should just make a quiz at the end of the quarter with all those questions. But that would take time that I don't really have. Okay. So let's then start adding some other, what else can blog info do? Well, blog info can get the site title. It can get the site tagline as well. So in my title tag, blog info, description, we're going to write a much better search engine optimized title tag later down the road. But for general purposes, what we can do is just write a universal title tag for now that basically gets the description of our blog and the name of our blog, or the name of our website and the description of our website. So I've used name, that gets this. Tagline, that'll get that. Or excuse me, description, that'll get this. Name gets this, description gets that. Name, description. So now it says just another WordPress class demo site, so on and so forth, right? So like I said, eventually we're going to write a much better search engine optimized title tag down the road, but this is good enough for right now to get you started, okay? If you want to see what we're going to do down the road, you can click on this link. And that's where we are going to say, if we're on the front page, get the description. If we're on a page or a posting, get the title. For everything else, get the description, so on and so forth. Right? The next thing that we want to put in is the body class function. So if you have websites that are relatively big and you have lots of conditions based on where you are in said website, you are going to want a way to based on where I am in the website, possibly have certain classes located in the body tag. How many of you have ever done that? I'm on this page, I'm going to put this class in the body tag. I'm on that page, I'm going to put this class in the body tag. So therefore, if I wanted header box to be a little bit different on the home page versus another page, I could do so. Makes sense? Okay? This is where then using the body class function comes into play, right? So in our body tag then, give it a space. Huh? Yes, space. Yes, space, because it has to write class in there. And you want a space to be between body and class. Okay. So now, if I put the body class function in there, and I view source again, now it has classes like home, blog, logged in, admin bar, no customized supports, right? So, Anthony, if I were to have not put a space here, this is what would happen.
I thought you were just doing a thing.
Oh, okay. What thing?
I don't know. I like to make up things for people.
Okay.
Keeps things interesting.
It sounds great. I do that too. I have a whole list of people's names at home with really shitty things they've done to me, right? And sometimes I read it over while I'm putting my lipstick on. No, that's from Billy Madison, where he calls up Steve Buscemi and he's like, "Sorry for all the shitty things I did to you when we were kids," and so Steve Buscemi crosses his name off the list and then puts his lipstick on. Thank you.
For a second there, I thought it was by reference.
Oh, probably could be. All right, you ready to keep going? So far, is this kind of making sense to you? Yeah? Oh man, wow, this is easy so far. Back in my day, I had to figure all this stuff out by myself. I didn't have no stinking WordPress class to run me through this stuff. I know. So there are more functions that we need to put into our site that do certain things. The next two, WP head and WP footer, are essential, okay? So you may have noticed or not, if you have ever viewed source on my business site or any of my other sites, you'll notice this section, start WP head, end WP head. So remember things like the short link and some of those other things that, so for instance, if we are on this blog posting and I view page source, and I pointed out that this one is page or post object 2051, right? Well, this is a whole bunch of WordPress stuff that gets written into the code because we use the WP head function. Similar, so if we have plugins that then have style sheets associated with them and or JavaScript files associated with them, if they are written correctly, they will find the WP head function to then insert them into our HTML inside the head tag. So what we want to do is, I typically then, right before my closing head tag, I'll leave a comment, start WP head function, NWP head function. I over comment things. Although I don't know if I want to say over comment, but I leave tons and tons of comments which really help me know where things are at and what's going on and what's being written where. So now I want to put in WP underscore head . So now if I've done that, you can see that it has placed in a whole lot of stuff, right? Who's calling me? Don't call me, I don't like to be called. So for instance, because we told our website to not be searchable, this is where then it is written into the code, robots, no index, no follow, right? It is also writing in style sheets for dash icons, the admin bar, contact form 7. It's putting in some of the jQuery files. Now, what I've noticed is these jQuery files right here, man, I wish I could get those to work properly. I have always still relied on putting in the link to jQuery up here in my head document. Every time I've relied on them loading down here, just things don't go right. But nonetheless, it puts in some other stuff, generator, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? As well, we have another function. You guessed it, WP footer, right? How many of you put JavaScripts down in the footer of your page? Right. So same thing, I am going to go to down before, let's see, do I want to put it? Yeah. I'll just put it before the closing body tag. Start in WP footer. Function. Now that I have that in there, we go and we view source and refresh. You will now see WP footer function, JavaScripts, admin bar stuff, right? So now that I have that in there, and I refresh, the admin bar shows up here. So I can then get into the dashboard once I'm logged in. Okay? So again, if we go and take a look at the WP head function, does not accept any parameters, right? Always have the head just before the closing head tag of your theme, or you will break many plugins. Always do this. Well, why? Just do it. WP footer. Always put it just before the closing body tag. This hook usually references JavaScript files, that kind of stuff. All right, so that is pretty much our, yay, we've hooked things up correctly, right? So now we have most of the necessary background functionality that we need in our theme, right? In other words, functionality that every theme should have as kind of part of the default functionality set. I don't know how else to say it, right? Except for, I forgot to do something in the style sheets. Let's go back to the style sheet really quick. Let's go back to this CSS WordPress generated classes, WordPress core generated classes. So this is where, remember where I told you about align right and align left?
Yes.
Let's make sure we go put those in our style sheet. Those are two of the main ones that we need to put in there, as well as align center, but yeah. So align center, align right, align left. Let's go put those in our style sheet. And we can just put them basically, no, I'm going to put them inside my middle content. Line, center, line, left, line, right, So for align center, we want to say display block and give it some kind of a margin structure that has left and right auto on it. I'm just going to go with 0 auto. We can adjust it later. For align left, we want to float it left and give it some kind of a margin structure to where it sits away from, text will sit away from it to the right. I'm just going to say margin right 20 pixels because that's what my gutter. Same thing, align right. Float right. Margin left. So those are absolutely the 3 that you definitely need in your code. You know, you could do one for align none and have some margins on there as well. But, you know, whatever. You might want to take a look at some of these other ones, WP caption, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the align center, right and left are the ones that I typically put in there and just leave it at that. And then as I need to do other stuff, I'll do other stuff. Going back now. So lastly, what we need to do is lastly in some stuff, right? Let's get the loop started. Or should we break here for today and do the loop on, yeah? So you guys can work on getting it. Yeah, why don't we break here and then do the loop on Wednesday? So far, so good, Janine? You're smiling, so that's a good thing. All right, so we'll do the loop on Wednesday. How do you want to sign off, Janine? We should assign something? Oh, that's right, that one thing that I forgot.